Alright, well, hello everybody, welcome to the channel. For those of you who don't know, this is Ricky Mike. I am a Pokemon Draft League player. I've been playing draft since Generation 6. And yeah, we're here for yet another Generation 9 League that we'll be joining. The first one since the DLC Indigo this meta has released, so very exciting stuff. Anyways, yeah, if you are here, you already saw the thumbnail or the video, the title, and know that this is a draft recap slash analysis, whatever you want to call it, for my team, the Victinis, as we will be joining the War Pokemon Federation's Delta Division in their 15th season. Yeah. This is my first time playing in this league, which is great. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and yeah, we'll do our best. Anyway, enough of introductions. Let's go ahead and get started. So quick notes about, or clarification notes about the league and the draft itself. First of all, this is a Wi-Fi league, obviously, and the battles. Sorry, it's an upload required league as well. The uploads will be happening every Friday, so keep an eye for that. The season itself will be 9-week long, with playoffs after that. Within the draft itself, some Pokemon are banned, mostly Ubers and broken stuff. So also there are some moves that are banned. Which include, I guess, Last Respects, Shed-Tail, and Revival Blessing, which, it can affect the viability of a few Pokemon that we may want to draft. Dry Bottom Pass is allowed, which is great. It gives momentum to a lot of Pokemons that don't get, a momentum move, which is good. And also, all these Smogon clauses are in effect, so, no evasion boost, no putting more than one Pokemon to sleep, etc., etc. For the draft itself, the budget was 110 points to draft between 9 to 11 Pokemon for each team, which I think is pretty generous. I'm happy about that. Each team could draft also between 1 to 3 Terra captains. However, Terra itself has a budget of 15 points, and nothing above the 10-point cost could terrastalize, and even some Pokemon within those tiers were banned individually from terrastalizing. So, a low tier Terra league, if you're familiar. The Terra captains also need to declare 3 types of Terras that they will be allowed to use during the battles. One of those needs to be a stab type, while the other 2 could be whatever you want, which includes the Estera type, of course, which is the new Terra type introduced on the DLC. So, keep that in mind, because that may or may not come back later. Lastly, the league has 16 coaches, and I actually managed to get a 16 pick, which is great. That means I had the wheel. That means I get to pick 2 Pokemon at the same time. However, that comes with the understanding that, I will be limited on what my choices are for my first draft pick. AKA, I won't be able to draft, potentially not be able to draft any of the new toys, which is fine. There's still plenty of stuff that I haven't drafted on Wi-Fi yet, so excited about drafting some of those and have some fun. But with that said, I decided that I wasn't going to make a draft plan prior to the draft, because, there's no point. So yeah, I'm just going to wait until my first pick comes around, see what I get, and then build a team around that. Anyways, yeah, that's all I have to say here. So without any further ado, let's just go ahead and get into the first Pokemon. So into my first pick, I guess full disclosure, I will say that originally I wanted Greytos as my first pick. I don't know, I couldn't tell you why, other than the fact that I never used it in Wi-Fi before, draft, I guess. And also because I thought that, it seems like a reasonable enough Pokemon that could get to me a pick 16, right? I mean, it is great, but it's nothing broken. And also, you know, I figure people will want to try the new things that came back, either the new Pokemon or the new legendaries and whatnot. So I was like, yeah, great toss. That will make it to me. It will make it to me. We'll get it, and that'll be great. And with that said, I'm happy to report that our first pick is none other than Palpy. Yeah, great toss, guys. Which is unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. Um, I'm not gonna complain about getting Palafin, to be honest. This Pokemon is great. Um, I had used it in a couple leagues before. I think I had success with it once because we ended up winning the championship. However, we also did the wars on one of our leagues with it. So yeah, give and take. The Pokemon itself is fantastic. You know, the what's it called, the Zero form, which I have on the screen right now. It's not great, but Palafin. It has one gimmick and one gimmick only, and that is getting into its hero form when it becomes absolutely broken. Um, with godlike stacks like that meaty 160 base attack. So yeah, um, not much else I can say about Palafin. I guess this thing gives me a bulky water, which is great. Always great to start with those. It gives me either a wall breaker or with choice band sets and whatnot, or a very good setup sweeper with a bulk up and all the stuff. It has one of the best priorities in the game with Jet Punch, which is great. Always nice to have strong priority in this type of you know high power drafts. Uh, and yeah, it gives me momentum with flip turn. It gives me like I say, it has great stats, and we start our draft with a base 100 speed, which I'm a big fan of. So yeah, no what else I can say about Palafin. I think it's a very good Pokemon to be able to build around. So we'll try to support it as best we can with the remainder of our picks. Alright, so for pick number 2, like I mentioned, I wanted to build a team that could support Palafin, and Palafin, the most important thing with it is to be able to activate its 0 to hero ability. So I figured that I will try to get a strong pivot. So with that said, I guess our second draft pick is going to be Deoxys Defense, which I'm very excited about because I never got into use this Pokemon Wi-Fi before. It is skipped Generation 8 completely and just came back with the Indigo Disc. So yeah, my playstyle, I love hazard stacking my opponents. So this thing is fantastic for that, as it gets access to, I believe, all non-sticky waves hazards, which is great. It also gives me access to knockoff, which is great to cripple opponents, but most important of all, uh, is one of the few walls or pivots that maintain teleport after the move cleansing in Generation 9. So yeah, Deoxys D. Not much else I can say. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. It's just a great wall. I have been hearing a lot of people dismissing it this generation just because of the overall power creep and saying that it cannot keep up. I don't know if I agree with that, but it seems that we're about to find out, right? But yeah, this is the second pick. So for a third pick, I was happy that I just was able to, I guess, grab a fantastic pivot in the Deoxys with teleport, which is great. So I decided that we should probably want to go with more firepower, and this thing was still available on the board, so I say, screw it, let's just go with it. So yeah, we are going ahead and grabbing Chi Yu. which you probably can tell since you saw it on the thumbnail. But yeah, this I love Chiyu. Chiyu actually was the captain of my very first team in Generation 9. Uh, so yeah, I'm very familiar with it. It is a super strong wall breaker. I don't know so much um, about setup, but it has the option to set up with Nasty Plot, and if you allow him to do it, it will just ruin your day. Uh, you know, base 135, special attack is fantastic, the speed is 100, it's just enough for a Pokemon of this magnitude to be able to do damage, so that's great. Um, and yeah, we start building our Fire Grass core, I guess, that we started with Palafin, but we didn't follow up with what you call with Deoxys. It gives me a Dark type, which is super important on this meta. With Ghost is one of the best types on the game. Uh, and yeah, I don't know what else to tell you other than I'm very happy that I was able to grab this little guy. I expected to do a lot of work during the season if we are able to support it properly with Deoxys. And yeah, Chiyu, welcome to the team. So as I mentioned before, I had the will pick, so I actually managed to pick Chiyu and another Pokemon at the same time, obviously. Um, yeah, Chiyu is a fantastic Pokemon, and it has many sets that it can run, like Scarf, like what's it called, whatnot. But I needed to, not be forced to run heavy duty boots every week. So with that in mind, our fourth pick is going to be the good old reliable Iron Threads. Yeah, I had drafted Iron Threads a couple times before in Generation 9. I won both championships with him last time I faced us. Last time I used them, so that's a good track record in my opinion. Uh, as far as his qualities itself, he will give me more hazards, which is great. It's not great to only have, I guess, one Pokemon with hazards available. Um, it gives me removal, which is the main thing that I want. It gives me a good speed tier and base 106 speed, which it means that we're starting to build a good we're starting to look good on that. I had drafted slow things before. Staff Earthquake is always good. It deals with fairy types for the most part. Um, and yeah, it's just a super solid Pokemon. I call it Jack of all trades. And there have been some hit sets that I have used in the past that we may or may not bring during the seasons. You might have to stick around to see it. It also gives us our first, and ground type, obviously, for electric types, which are not that great this generation, but it's always nice to have. I don't like just letting people all switch on me for free. But anyway, yeah, no, that's Iron Threads. That's for pick. So yeah, moving on. Alright, so for our fifth pick, like I mentioned before, we just picked up a Steel type, so I guess it's maybe time to start trying to build the Fairy Dragon Steel type core. There were a few fairies on the line, nothing really caught my attention too much. I believe I wanted Florges, maybe, or Sylveon, and they ended up getting sniped before he got to me. I also wanted Rillaboom for some reason. I just love using Rillaboom, to be honest with you. That also got sniped before me, so I was freaking out because I didn't have a vision for the team anymore. However, a good friend of mine, Quincy Adams, pointed out to me that this Pokemon was still available. I never drafted it before, so I figured it would be a good time to give it a test. So yeah, we decided to draft Alolan Ninetales. Oh, come here, come here. Yeah, I often forget that that thing is a fairy type because it's just because it's so much associated with the uh, with the ice type. So, but no, this Pokemon is a fairy type, and I think it fits the team well because it can support my breakers on my setup Sweet Burst that I have already drafted by setting Aurora Bell. 109 speed is also fantastic. The buff that the ice types got on the defense drop make this team deceptively bulky. Um, so that's on the physical side at least. So that's great. You know, it gives me some sort of secondary measure to deal with what's it called, with what are they called, weather teams, because there are definitely a few weather teams on this draft. Uh, and yeah, Ice Stab is always good, and this Pokemon hits relatively hard with 100% accurate blizzards, as well as um, you know, freeze dry for those water types. Um, so yeah, not much else I can say about Ninetales. You know, it does one thing for the most part, but it does it great. So yeah, very excited to be trying it for the first time in Wi-Fi. We'll see how it does. All right, so for our sixth pick, at this point, I start being paranoid, I guess, by my weakness to ground. But I'm always, I guess, paranoid about my weakness to ground, even though I only have two weaknesses. So technically half my team is weak to ground. So anyway, and also I'm thinking that, hey, maybe I should start picking my Terra captains now, or at least try to grab one in order to, you know, get a good Terra captain. I don't want to be forced into not being able to bring Terra every week like I did on a previous league that I played with low tier Terra Pokemon. So anyway, with that being said, I decided to go ahead and pick. Well, that didn't work. Good old Kilowattrel, because uh, he just he was, what was it, 9 points as a Terra captain, uh, and it gives me, you know, a ground immunity, which is great. It gives me you know, a speed tier in base 125, I believe, if I'm not correct, which speeds a lot of things in this meta, which is great. 105 special attack is serviceable, especially, you know, if it's boosted by Terra, so that's great. Uh, and yeah, I don't know what else I can say. You know, we get strong hurricanes, we get weather ball if we want to get the ice coverage without having to Terra. We get ball switch, we get discharge, we get thunder waves to mess with people. You know, it's that kind of stuff. So yeah, Kilowattrel. We decided that we were gonna make these our first Terra captains, and the Terra types that we decided to go for it were Terra flying, um, because, you know, stab and being able to roll Terra Blast over Hurricane. Uh, we also went with ice because, you know, Bolt being combination, obviously. Um, and I debated on the last type, but I ultimately decided to go with water in case I decide that, you know, this week I don't want to be weak to Stealth Rocks. And also, I think it's a funny interaction when this Pokemon gets Ball Absorb, uh, and it's a water type that's not weak to it. So yeah, that's uh that's gonna be our first Terra captain. I think he'll do great. If the Terra types don't work out, I can always change it at a later point. But yeah, Killer Water, welcome to the team. All right, so for our seventh pick, we decided to go on a different way, on a different route, I guess. We're not gonna go ahead and pick our second Terra captain yet because I don't think that's a priority at this moment. I think Kilowattrel is pretty decent as a Terra captain for a low tier Terra. Um, and I have options for the secondary Terra captain. Also, looking at my team, one thing I noticed is that I do not have a grounded poison type. I had the opportunity to draft Iron Moth instead of Chi-Yu when the time was, you know, when that pick came, but I decided not to go with Iron Moth, even though I love Iron Moth. So yeah, now I'm stuck with not having a ground type so far on my team. Also, one thing about me is I don't like drafting a very low tier ground type, poison type, because to be honest with you, that just means that unless you want to get, I guess, give your opponent free toxic spice, you will have to bring your low tier, super low tier, and bad ground type. So I was looking at the Pokemon that were available. I also don't have a normal type, so, you know, I look at this Pokemon. I love using this Pokemon. I had drafted before, but I don't care. For our 7th pick, we decided to draft Rafai. Yeah, this little dude, or girl, I guess, because mine is female. yeah, but Graphite is great. Uh, it is a grounded poison type, uh, which is, what I'm looking for here. It is also a normal type, and even though it's not very bulky, with investment, it can actually tank a good amount of hits. Uh, because it has a decent, you know, it can go fully invested since even though it has good, fantastic stick here, to be honest, at 110 for this type of Pokemon. It has Prankster, so it can just root utility moves, not have to worry about speed, and and it just annoys my opponent. The only bad quote-unquote thing that you can say about this little guy is that he doesn't get toxic spikes. But other than that, yeah, no, the Graphia is great. It gets so many super options like Parting Shot for momentum, it gets knockoff, it gets anchor, it gets switcheroo, it gets toxic. Um, and if I don't want to go with a prankster set, I can always try to go with the inverted set for because it does get source dance. I was actually going to make this my Terra Captain, or it was one of my Terra Captains as an option when I was planning to draft Rillaboom, but since I didn't get it, then so be it. But yeah, it still fits the team because it gives me what I need. And yeah, there's so much I can say about it. Like I said, I used this before. I'm very familiar how it works, and I'm sure it's going to do great on this team. All right, so for our 8th pick, the draft is getting a little bit late. People are starting to run low on points. People are starting to prioritize other things. So yeah, I figured that this will be a good time for me to pick my secondary Terra Captain. There was, like I say, I had a few options, but I decided to try to have a little bit of fun, I guess, if I may say so. So there was one Pokemon I saw on the 6-point tier, which is exactly 15 points with Kilowatt Drop. So I thought that that's perfect, right? I just dropped that, making my second Terra Captain and whatnot. At the same time, I wanted to do something fun with the new stuff. So without any further ado, I decided to go ahead and draft my second Terra Captain, and that is going to be Lurantis. Yeah, I know, underwhelming that this Pokemon is not something to get excited about, and I agree. It absolutely is not. However, like I mentioned before, this Pokemon is my secondary Terra Captain, um, and I'm sure, like everybody watching this, I'm sure you're familiar with how certain things of the new DLC work, I guess. Because this Pokemon doesn't have outstanding stats, obviously, right? Um, you know, it's mediocre at best, with only one of fire and attack being decent enough. However, this Pokemon does get the ability Contrary, and that's kind of like its own niche, right? It just spams Contrary Leaf Storms, and that's all it does. However, like I said, uh, I decided to make this my secondary Terra Captain, and with that said, uh, I guess before that, it does give me access to Defog, which is my secondary for hazard removal, which is good to have at least a second one in my opinion. Some people don't agree, but I do. But yeah, anyway, this thing is my secondary Terra Captain, so I decided to make it a grass type for his stab, on force, which is not bad. I mean, just Terra boosted Leaf Storms into boost is not a bad option. As a secondary type, I decided to go with fire because they're kind of opposite to each other, and you always have to be worried about that. However, for his last Terra type, I decided to go ahead and just go with Stellar, man, because why not, right? I mean, this thing is one of the two things that is allowed to Terrastalize that has access to the ability Contrary, and I think has a much better type than the Malamar, to be honest with you. So yeah, we decided that, hey, why not? It's a new league, it's a new Terra. It may be trash at the end of the day, but we want to try it. We want to have fun. We do have the support of Bell which might allow this thing to snowball in theory. So we'll see how it does. But yeah, I'm very excited about start blasting those Stellar Tides Terra Blasts. And instead of getting the punishment of lowering my stats, I will get a boost into special attack and attack, which I think is fantastic. Like I said, it's a secondary Terra Captain. I think it'll be fun. I'm excited about it. Probably the Pokemon that I'm the most excited about in my team, to be honest. So, yeah. Secondary Terra Captain, Lurantis. Let's go. Alright, knife pick. At this point, the draft is basically over. I knew what my last real pick, I guess, was going to be based on what my team is missing. If you pay attention, you can probably tell what it is. Because I completed one of my cores, in that being, I guess, the grass, water, fire core, but I haven't completed the other one, so spoiler alert, I guess. However, that does, and I would have been okay with getting that last pick. However, that Pokemon will leave me with a 1 point left over, so I need to drop a 1 point Pokemon. I'm fine. My only issue with that is that whenever I draft team, I like to use my whole team at least once. Otherwise, I consider this season not very successful for me personally, because if you drop a Pokemon, you should use it, in my opinion. But anyway, I was, for the longest time, I was, oh, there's Cricketune, I'll draft Cricketune. And right before I was about to get picked, I noticed that they actually put this Pokemon on the 1 point tier. It's usually a little bit more than that. Not much, but a little bit more than that. It's better than Cricketune, I'll tell you that much. So with that 1 point, we decided to grab good old Scream. Because why not, right? I mean, this thing is, unlike Cricketune, this thing is not complete trash. Cricketune is just trash, man. It gets access to sticky webs just like Cricketune. I mean, the stats are, for a 1 pointer, I guess they're pretty decent. Funnily enough, this thing gets Quiver Dance, so it can, technically set up. I mean, base 80 is not the worst. There have been worse things. Special attack is decent. It has pretty good coverage in things like, Hurricane and Hydro Pump and all that. Gets Intimidate. I will have to, now that I know that it is a usable Pokemon, I will have to bring it to at least 1 game, if not more. But we'll see how it does, I guess. I haven't drafted this in the past before, because usually it's more than 1 point, and, people... I'm not gonna draft it with more than 1 point. But yeah, anyway, we get a sticker webs, I guess, and my opponents may have to respect that. I mean, it will cost me having to bring this team, but, if you don't have a spin, and you bring Defog, I have a contrary mon, so I don't know how much you want to deal with that. Yeah, I mean, I'm coping probably, but it is what it is. Yeah, Masquerade is going to be a 1 tier pointer, and let's move on into our last pick. Alright, so for our 10th and last pick, like I mentioned before, I would like to finish my Dragon Fairy Steel core. I already had the Fairy, I already had the Steel. If you notice, I also don't have a fighting type, which is unusual for me because I really like my fighting types on my draft. So, yeah, I have 18 points left over. There's 1 Pokemon on the board. I know I cannot be a snipe on it. That's why I saved it for last, because we want to end the draft on a big note. So, without any further ado, my last pick is going to be good old trusty Homo, or how I like to call him myself, Setup Incarnate, because this Pokemon has so many options for setup, it's not even funny. You got Belly Drum, you got Dragon Dance, you got Ball Cap, you got, its signature move on Clangorous Soul. This Pokemon is just a jack of all trades. I have used it before, and I thought that he was fantastic. Normally I don't get kill leaders on drafts because I spread my kills among many of my Pokemon, but the one time that I used Como on draft, yeah, this thing just became like the kill leader of the entire thing. So yeah, a strong dragon type, a strong fighting type, and it also gives me access to even more Estelle rocks, which I'm happy about. Um, so yeah, I don't know what else to say. The base 85 speed is again puts me on a good speed tier. His move pool is wild with stuff like Gunburst to activate, for coverage. I believe it gets access to Viking Wave now, which is great. Priority is always good. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm very happy. Como is not one of my favorite Pokemons, but it is definitely one of my favorite Pokemons in draft because it's just so versatile. And I think it rounds out the team pretty well. So, yeah, very happy with that. And with that said, that's gonna be our last Pokemon. Those are the 10 Pokemon that we drafted. So yeah, if you watch this long, thank you so much for watching. We will, like I said, we will be having the battles every Friday, or uploading the battles every Friday. And yeah, stick around, come back, we'll have some fun. Um, yeah, with that being said, this is Wrecking Mike. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the first week battle next week. Bye now.